The myth of multitasking. Our overachieving world admires people who tackle many tasks at once. But researchers say that devoting attention to one thing at a time is more productive and better for your health and safety. I had given myself the afternoon off to go to the museum with my wife, Menaz, and our two young daughters. It was a typical outing. 3-year-old Natasha oogled dinosaur bones, tried on a princess costume, and raced through the bat cave. Baby Ariana mostly slept in a stroller. It was a bitterly cold day, and the snow was starting to fall as we hurried back to the car, all the while making mental checklists. What are we doing for dinner? Do we need diapers or milk? What's the quickest route home? When was I going to get to those phone calls and deadlines I'd put off? We drove home in the rush hour traffic, making a couple of quick stops along the way. It was only when we got into the house that Menaz noticed Ariana wasn't buckled into her infant's car seat. Luckily, nothing went wrong that day, and we now triple check the kids' seat belts every time we get in the car. But it's a frightening wake-up call about the potentially dangerous mistakes that can creep into our lives when we ask our brains to deal with too much at once. Who hasn't had one of those days where you find your cell phone in the cutlery drawer, the sugar bowl in the fridge, and your keys? Well, where the heck did those keys get to anyway? Chances are you were multitasking, trying to perform 2 or more incongruous chores simultaneously. And as much as society reveres the skillful multitasker, the supermom, who can take a call from the office while making dinner, folding laundry, and helping the kids with their homework, the biological reality is that when it counts the most, we are often just not up to managing several tasks at once. The term multitasking originated as a computer jargon for the situation when the central processing unit switches back and forth between different programs. While the human capacity for simultaneously handling multiple tasks has been discussed and studied for centuries, the book is far from closed on how well we can or can't do it. Let's look at a fairly common workplace scenario. Writing an email to one colleague while talking on the phone to another. As you're talking, you've temporarily put the skills needed to type on hold. When you turn your attention back to the computer, you then suspend the etiquette of conversation. So, we are not really doing these things simultaneously. We are just switching between the tasks. It is, of course, entirely possible to successfully perform 2 or more tasks at a time. Anyone can chat on the phone while pouring a cup of coffee. But if you're also trying to keep an eye on the kids and make their breakfast, you'll have a bottleneck of information queuing up to be processed, and you're liable to end up with a sugar bowl in the fridge and burnt eggs. As we try to do more and more things in less and less time, often errors creep in. We call that a speed-accuracy trade-off. Trading away accuracy for speed can have disastrous consequences. Think of driving. Operating a vehicle calls for processing multiple complex visual and audio cues to safely navigate the roads. You're monitoring your speed, scanning ahead for upcoming hazards, glancing to your side view and rear view mirrors, and processing that information, all the while keeping your car centered in its lane. Then, we try to layer on the mental workload by chatting on the phone or with the passengers, trying to have a snack without spilling, watching the signals, and listening to the radio. Processing all that additional information can be risky, even lethal. While less immediate than a car crash, the long term effects of multitasking can be just as bad for your health. Overloading your brain stresses you out, and nowhere is that more apparent than at work, where we are expected to perform many activities at once. While working on, say, an important report, we'll also field phone calls, scan emails, and chat with visitors who pop into the office. A study of Microsoft employees found that each interruption required them to take an average of 15 minutes to get refocused on challenging mental tasks such as writing computer code. Multitasking can also affect our relationships, from our dearest to the newest. How often have you learned a new acquaintance's name only to immediately forget it because you were also focused on what she was saying or her interesting necklace? We've all had loved ones, after sharing deep sentiments, ask us, "Are you even listening to me?" In the end, the key is recognizing our limitations. There's no reason we can't fold the towels while chatting on the phone with an old friend. But do you really want to risk driving around with your kids while you talk on the mobile? Certainly not. Thank you.